Well, good morning, everybody. Grace and peace to you from our Lord Jesus Christ and all the saints here in Central California. Coming to you early morning before things get all crazy and wacky around here. Um, uh, First of all, I hope you guys enjoyed that live stream. I really wasn't expecting the people that showed up to show up, but I hope you guys enjoyed that. I might try to do that again in the future, and I'll announce it next time so more of you can get on and ask questions. And we'll do that. I didn't think it would be as popular as it was, but it apparently was, and it was fun. So we'll do that again in the future. Um, I've also had several people reach out to me and ask if I can work with them on a one-on-one basis to become a network admin. I'm not really a teacher. That this whole channel is just about documenting what we do or what I do as a network admin. Another network admin could have a completely different job. For instance, I have a friend at a hospital nearby, also a network admin at a hospital, and his job description's completely, well, not completely different than mine, but like mine, my job description is mostly just networks. That's all I do here. We're kind of siloed that way. He has to be able to do everything from help desk to servers to networks, which is what my last job was like. So, you know, every job's going to be different. So I can't, and I'm not really a very good teacher. And I'm not the most knowledgeable, believe it or not. There's a lot of you out there going, well, yeah, that's no surprise. But yeah, I'm basically raised on the streets, as it were, self-taught. Excuse me. And I've gotten to where I am today. You can go all the way back and watch my very first video to hear me talk about my journey to where I am now. So that's that. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Like I said, it's early morning. So in today's video, I thought what I might do is just kind of talk about the evolution of our network, what it looked like when I got here, and discuss the changes it's gone through and what it looks like today. So let's jump right into that. I need to share a window here. Where are you? There you are. And I'm going to share this window right here. Hopefully this all works out. Make it a little bigger. Hopefully you guys can see all this. So when I first got here, what we had was a core switch. There were actually two chassis bonded together. And it was a, let's see, what is this thing? Add some text in here. Terra Sys Now Extreme S8. It's an S8 chassis. Hey, let's make that a little bit bigger, shall we? So you can actually read it. There you go. Hopefully you can see that. So yeah, when I got here, basically had two Intersys S8 chassis in the same rack, bonded together. That was our core. So yeah, let's denote that. That was our core. Yeah, there you go. The product I'm using is Intermapper, by the way. You can use this to monitor your networks. You can use it to diagram your networks. I use it for both. So, and you for servers too. I mean, it's got hooks into WMI and SNMP, so you can monitor all kinds of stuff on your servers and generate alerts and Intermapper. I'll put a link to it in the description below. It's a pretty cool product. Okay, so we had two S8 chassis bonded together, and that was basically our core network. And then just hanging off of that, we basically had switches here, there, and everywhere. They were just all over the place. I mean, they could be hanging off each other. They could be hanging off one chassis. We would have multiple daisy chains involved. So you could have a switch attached to this guy. You could have a switch attached to, where'd it go? I got to put on my other glasses. To that guy, you could have a switch attached here and attached here. I'll just finish these off here. Now, this isn't an accurate representation. It's not accurately what the network looked like, but it's a good representation. It's just, it was basically, it just kind of grew organically. There was really no planning done initially. Oh, and before I forget, we also had, put that here. We also had a single, this was Cisco 55. I don't remember what the exact model of it was. It was a Cisco ASA firewall. Yeah, let's call it that way. There you go. Hang on, I'm going to change my glasses real quick. Put my reading glasses on, my computer glasses, so I can actually see what I'm doing. Those are my walking around doing stuff glasses. These are my computer glasses. There, now I can see. And of course, that was attached to our core. So this is basically what our network kind of sort of looked like. And this was also in our data center. So let's denote that. That's in the data center, which is where I am right now. Now, down in, there was kind of two halves of our network. Down in our main hospital, add another switch here. We basically had two more distribution switches. And these were basically just hung off of one of these, one or the other. I'll do it this way so you can see how it was attached. And again, there was just a bunch of other, do it this way. Bunch of other switches hung off of these guys. Man, we'll just make it easy here. And there, another line. There we go. And this was down in what we call our MDF. And these were Enterasys K6 switches. And these were in the main hospital MDF down in the basement. Yeah, so there we go. That's a fairly good representation of what we had when I got here. So I think it was probably within my first 2 weeks, the very first thing we did, I shouldn't say we, because I was too new to really be part of this, but the very first thing that was done to change the network was to implement, let me get rid of this, we're only gonna need one of these, is we installed, drum roll please, Palo Alto firewalls in an HA pair. So that was the very first big change here at the hospital. Let's do it this way. Move this guy up there and attach him to this. So that was pretty cool. I mean, it took, I want to say it took almost 36 hours to completely implement it. I remember when they first put it in, everybody was up all night long trying to replace this firewall because, you know, internet is everything. Everything goes out over the internet, so that was a big deal. And it was pretty intense. Like I said, I was the new guy here. I was mostly just watching, and we had the guys from the county over. They were all doing this. Guys that had already implemented a Palo Alto firewall downtown, and so they did their thing, and we still have Palo Alto firewalls here to this day. So the very first project that I was personally involved with was to replace these K6s. They're old. Even at that time, they were old and needed to be replaced. So what I recommended is basically replace them with, come on, give me, there we go. To replace them with Extreme S4 chassis in a redundant mode. And again, this was in the MDF. Make these big so you can read them. Oops, let's put that label on the other side. How about on the left? There you go. So again, they're basically, it's the same as this S8, only the S8 has 8 slots, the S4 has 4 slots, and it's the exact same switch otherwise. So, oops, no, didn't mean that. I meant Control C, copy, Control V, paste. So let's get rid of this. You're also getting a pretty good schooling on how Intermapper works. And attach to, because these were bonded, it's a bonded dual chassis. And basically we did this. I'll leave this, no, I won't. Let's get rid of these. Boom. Yep. Delete. Let's delete this one because the K6s are gone. No more K6s. So these guys were now in play. Attach to you. And attach to you. And you can see the beginnings of the changes I was trying to start making. Let's move these out a little bit just to. So what I began doing is when I bonded these, or not bonded, when I attached these switches to the S8, since these two chassis are bonded, they're logically treated as one switch. So I would set up a lag. I think you Cisco guys call it a multi-link trunk. Is that right? Anyway, in Extreme World, we call it a lag, aggregate link. I would start to span them across these two. And every time we added a switch, I would try to do that. So more and more switches. Here, I'll just do one more here. Come on, add it. Add the switch. Come on, Intermapper. There we go. So this Intermapper, this is a local client. Intermapper runs on a server, so sometimes the server has a little trouble keeping up. Anyway, so every time we'd add another switch, I would create a lag across both of these two chassis. So that was the beginning of our redundancy. So yeah, there we go. We continued on like this pretty much for several years until finally we started getting the idea that maybe we got to take this redundancy to the next level and make the entire campus redundant. So the very next thing we did, still kept our Palo Alto firewall. Well, wait, before I get into that, let me add another fly into the ointment. The other thing we started doing is we added Cerner as our electronic medical records provider. So basically, Here, I need to add another icon here. I got to find it. I'm going to add a cloud. Where is it? There's a cloud. So basically, Cerner is out in Kansas City somewhere, and we treat it like it's a cloud because there's a ton of servers there. I'm just going to call this Cerner. And I'll make it big because they're a big deal. So Cerner's out here in Kansas City somewhere. Down here. So we had to install equipment for them. They brought in new circuits, new ISPs just for them, and we added more equipment just for them. Well, we added their equipment. I keep saying we added more equipment. We didn't. They sent us the equipment, and it basically consisted of this: some firewalls and some switches, and we just installed them in our racks, and then they had these things going back to them at Cerner, and it was in one location. Well, I didn't want to be able to have this foreign network attached to me without some sort of control, so we added another firewall just for them, also a Palo Alto firewall. And again, these guys are basically in the same rack here. All of these are. These guys are all together. This one is GH firewall, my hospital. I'll just say hospital. Make that a little smaller. And this one is Cerner. Oops, different sizes. Oh well. I'm sloppy. What can I say? Oh, I can't do that. All right. This is what I meant to do anyway. Positions, put it on the left. There we go. All right, so that was the next big project, was adding Cerner. But we wanted to make the entire hospital look like this. We wanted it to be redundant. We wanted it to be more reliable. We wanted it to be simpler. Ha ha ha. Yeah, that didn't quite happen the way we envisioned. So what we began doing is implementing Extreme's fabric. So what that started to look like is we had 4 cores. How am I going to represent this? Yeah, we'll do that. I'll do it just like I do it on mine. How about that? So we implemented these 4 cores, and they were all interconnected. So I'm going to attach them to each other. Attach to. That's basically how they looked. These 2 up here were in the data center, just like this guy. So we'll move them over here so you know where they are. These 2 were down in the MDF in the hospital. And what we slowly and then the very first thing we did was interconnect the 2 networks. Boom. There we go. So that's the very first thing we did, was interconnect the 2 networks. And then we started basically migrating these switches over. And I'm going to move this guy over here. What we basically did is, when it came time to cut over this lag, we added 2 more ports to the lag. So, well, in cases where it wasn't it was a single port or single run like this, we created a lag if there wasn't one already there. And we put 4 ports in each lag. And then basically what we would do is, whoops, come on, cooperate with me. You're not gonna let me cooperate? Okay, then let's delete this. Look at that. Here's what we basically did. This would have been 2 connections, so this would be a lag. Oops, attach to. And this would be a lag, so there'd be 2 fiber pairs. Let's denote that. Are you gonna let me label that? Might not let me label a line. Okay, I'll just add some text here. 2 fiber pairs. Make that just big enough to read. And these would be 2 fiber pairs. So we had redundant fiber going to redundant switches. And again, across these 2, we would set up what's called an MLT, which you guys know what that is. Actually, each one of these is an MLT, and then across both switches, it's an SMLT, spanned multi-link trunk, I guess. So let's note that. SMLT. It would be across each one. I'm not going to make this label on all of them. So yeah, that's basically what we would do, is that we would move the switch one at a time. We had a downtime for each window, or for each maintenance event. And some would be moved across these 2 switches, and some would be moved across these 2 switches. Just depends. We tried to balance them out, and it also depended on where the fibers landed. So like I said, just little by little, all these switches would slowly start moving over to these 2 switches, or one of these 4, I should say. Maintenance event. Maintenance event. Come on, move over there. All right. And we also moved, oops. Let me get rid of this. Attach to. We also at one point moved Cerner over there. So now at this point, we had gotten all of our hospital switches off of the S4s, and then those guys were decommissioned. They were gone. We still had this S8 for quite a while, believe it or not, because well, you'll hear me talk about the main hospital. We have an old hospital with some very old fiber optic cabling that goes between it and us only. It doesn't go down to the MDF. Oh, I got to add that again here. Sorry, I deleted that. So this is all going to be fabric. And that's down in the MDF. So we have some older buildings where there is no path down to the MDF. So they had to stay connected to the S8 temporarily while we were trying to figure things out. So then our CIO at the time said, you know what, this is kind of a single point of failure right here. This medical records provider is kind of a big deal. And he's kind of right. So the next project was to add redundancy for Cerner. So I'm going to put this out here, move these guys a little bit, move them up in here. I'm going to move these guys also. And there's more switches over here. So just a representation. So like I said, the very next thing was to get some redundancy for Cerner. Let's auto this. There we go. So Cerner started a project to add a second set of ISPs and second set of switches and firewalls. So what we ended up with, there we go. Let's move these labels. Label position. Put these in top right. How about that? There we go. And we'll attach you to, oops. Sorry, nope. You guys enjoying watching me fumble around? Yeah, I thought so. And attach to that. So we ended up with this. We ended up with a redundant connection to our EMR provider, Cerner. So lastly, but not leastly, was to move all these older buildings over to the new fabric. And eventually we ended up doing that in a weekend because we were under the gun from our CIO to finish it. So there you go. And at this, then finally, once this was all moved over, oh, we'd also moved these guys over to here as well. And what we actually ended up doing with these pairs is, I'm gonna change this labeling here. And firewall. What we actually ended up doing is we had one firewall here. I'll put it there. And one firewall there. So now we had redundant firewall connections across the fabric. So if there was any, any kind of problem up in the data center, we still had connectivity. I'm I'm hiding it with my hand. If we had any connectivity problems up here, power problems, whatever, traffic would still route down through here. Same thing. We had any difficulties down here, electrical problems, flooded basement, whatever, traffic would route around up through here. Internet this way, Cerner this way. So once that was done, the S8s went bye-bye. The other thing is this firewall here was also a redundant pair. At one point, we had one here and one up in the data center, one in the MDF, one up in the data center. And what we instead did was to eliminate this firewall and take the two Cerner connections directly through to this. So we attached the two firewalls this way. We basically collapsed all of our firewalls onto just two. So this guy actually connects there. And that is pretty much the condition we are in today. It looks pretty much like this. We still have all these others, this older section that's still got single points of failure, but it is what it is for now. We've got projects to run new fibers from all these locations to both the data center and the MDF. That's an ongoing project. I don't know how long that's going to take, but that's where we're going to go. So there you have it. I think I've stuttered long enough on this video. You can see where we were when I got here and where we are today. So yeah, hope you found that entertaining or maybe informative, hopefully entertaining. But yeah, that's just one idea. That was just my idea of how to make things more redundant around here. We'll see if it stands the test of time. It was supposed to simplify things, but it really doesn't, because instead of having a routing table to control in one device, which we had before in the S8, now I've got to set up routing in 1, 2, 3, 4 places. And there's actually a couple of switches that I didn't show here that are actually in between our firewalls and the internet, and those have routing tables on them too. So it's actually 6 places, because there's a switch. Yeah, let me just show you. Let me add it in. I know I was about to say goodbye, but I just want to be complete here. We basically got another switch here, another switch here that are attached to these guys. And I'm just going to do 1 cloud. It's actually 2. There we go. And those switches connect us to the county, which they own us, and that provides our WAN connections and internet. So the county is basically our ISP. Delete that. Let's do the same thing here, and that's also a redundant connection to the county. And the 2 redundant connections to the county are over 2 different ISPs. One's AT&T, the other's Comcast. So yeah, so I've actually got routing here, 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 and here to keep track of, rather than just in one place. So yeah, all right, I'm done. That's where we are today. We'll see if it stays that way with our new management services agreement that's in place. I know we've had several outages in trying to move routing around that was handled by our vendors, because it was just way too complicated for me. Yeah, so they came up with a plan, they did it, and they caused some outages. So who knows? We may be moving to Cisco. Who knows? We'll see. Anyway, that's it. I'm rambling. That's all I got this week. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you saw, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell if you want to be notified when things happen, like going live. I'd appreciate that. So as always, thanks for watching. Thanks for the wonderful comments and well wishes for my father. I do appreciate that. No update. He's in the same place. So in God's hands, just like we all are. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see y'all next week. God bless. All right, let's stop this share and let's stop this recording. 3, 2, 1.